Hello everybody. This is a quick follow-up to a challenge set by CoderMonkey King on YouTube. The challenge was to scrape this website, and the difficulty was that the class names in the CSS weren't sequential, so what you see here didn't cross-reference with what you see here. It jumped all over the place, so that could be 77, that could be class 69, that could be class 82, and so on. So if you want to see the original challenge, it's available here. And he's provided a solution as well which works. So I wanted to do a solution to it before looking at his solution, because I didn't want to, well, cheat effectively. I wanted to see if I could solve it all by myself. So hopefully this will be of interest to you. It's a different challenge to normal because you're not relying, or you're not really making use of Scrapey or Beautiful Soup or whatever web scraping package you want to use, because really the problem to solve is actually the logic behind extracting the text. So I've written up my own comments on red and green, scraping a page via CSS data style. The challenge was to scrape a site where the class names for each element were out of order / randomised. So I'll let you go off and read that introduction and just go over the problem. What I'm trying to do here today is actually just review my own code and show some errors which I made, and just highlight some functions which I used, and just my approach to solving the problem and how I would make it better in future. So if you'd like to see that, and you've got some time, let's begin. Hello. So what I want to show you today is how I went about trying to scrape this site, the sacrilegious web scraping challenge. The way I approached it was to break it down into 3 columns. The alternative would have been an attempt to break it into, effectively split the page into rows. Now the problem with using rows is in places the rows kind of almost overlapped and they got a bit close and couldn't really afford any errors. So one error could potentially have put everything out of sequence. So what occurred to me was to attempt to have column 1, column 2, column 3. Now I've attempted to illustrate this on my write-up on the article on red and green here. So column A, which is the text, I've kind of blurred it out just to, because the text is not relevant. I'm trying to explain the concept. So we've got column A, which is description, column B, which is the selling price, and column C, which is the suggested retail price. Now, you see the purple dots on my write-up? They're trying to represent the top and the left in the CSS, because that is the only way you can uniquely identify each piece of text. So the other thing I had to do was, I don't know if this appears on CoderMonkey's solution, he may not have needed this, but because some of the lefts were, for instance, 377 or 375, in others were 372, not quite sure why. Again, probably just to make it even harder to scrape, I don't know. Also we had, I forget the, let's see, I'll just look at my notes. Yeah, in places we had 886 for the left, and in other places I think it was a couple of pixels different. So again, as you can see in my article, what I did was used round, and because you can change the amount of rounding, I decided to attempt to round everything to two digits, which seemed to work. So that was a success. So in my code, you'll see. Let's just bring up the code, which is available on my link here, and I'll show you if we zoom in a bit. I used round, but I used round on the left because there was more variation on the left. So we used round to -2. On the top, less variation. So the top was a bit more precise because, as you know, or as you can see, in places the top gets quite. Try and find an example. The top of the text here, the red text, is not level with the top of the description text. It's kind of centered. It's not even centered vertically, but it's different. Which is why I didn't want to try and create rows, because the top of the column B, column C, the red text, it didn't match the top value of column A. So 3 columns A, B and C. So if we go back, you can see what I've attempted to do. Retrieve the CSS. Now, I used requests.html here rather than Beautiful Soup because I wanted to use XPath. It's my personal preference. So I retrieved the CSS and I attempted to place all of that into a dictionary and I had to parse it. So all of this here is me parsing the CSS text and creating a dictionary with it. You can see dict top, dict left, dict name. I wanted to extract the name of the class, the left px value and the top px value, and you can see lots of strip, replace, split, and so on. So the next thing was to attempt to sort that. Now, just sorting it by column A or sorting it by name wouldn't necessarily have been very useful, because I also needed to sort it by not just the left but also the top value. Now you can see I did that here. ls.sort key item getter left. So we sorted using column A first, using the left values. But obviously you got lots of left values that were the same, so then you had to sort by the second value, which was then the top px. And once we'd done that, I created lists. So I created 3 lists with a view to using zip. Now, if you read my article, run into problems using zip, but only right at the very end. And if you look at my screenshot here, you'll see column A and column B worked fine, and if you want to try my code, you can scrape column A, column B, so you can get the description, you can get the selling price, but the suggested retail price on the website, I forget which one it is. I think it was it this one? No, somewhere there's a white space, or actual, not even a white. There it is, look, definitive. So uniquely amongst this entire page, I think there were 319 elements here, so just over 100 bits of text, just over 100 prices and 100 recommended prices. So uniquely amongst those 319 elements, there was this one, which, if you look up here, as you hover over the white space, you can see you get a little blue highlighting, which if you do view source or inspect element, you can see white space. If you do view source, you get and NBSP. So even though visually there's nothing there, you don't see anything with your eyes, there's actually something there behind the scenes. This one there wasn't, no. Just when I thought I'd perfected it and it was all working, then I'd zipped 3 columns, A, B and C, and I ended up with row C all got shifted up by 1. So from halfway down on column C, from here down, so that one, that one, that one, so on. I can't even highlight it to show you because the CSS jumps all over the place, so you can't even sequentially highlight it. But from that one halfway down, everything shifts up 1. So you get to the very end, and as you can see on my screenshot, you end up with 2 blanks. So when you run the code, you'll see 77 in column A, 77 in column B, 75 in column C. So what have we learned? We've learned not to use, well, it's fine to zip as long as you've got an identical number of items, and the only way to get around this that I've thought of is I'm going to have to go through all of column B, and in column B I'm then going to have to check, do another loop and run through column C, and then I'm going to have to cross-reference it with the left PX, sorry, with the top PX, and I'm going to have to see if in column C there is anything which has an identical top PX to what I found in column B. So go to column B, find the top PX, and then go to column C, look at the top PX and see if we've got matching values. If we haven't, then I'm going to have to mark it somehow to actually create, because as I say, this leaves me with 1 short, and also at the end I'm 1 short at the end because that was the same. So 77 in column A, 77 column B, 75 in column C. When you're 2 out, the last one doesn't cause too much of an issue really, but the one higher up does, because it moves all of column C up 1. So all the prices below the 151 are all out of sequence by 1. Potentially you could go manually insert a blank cell into your Excel, your CSV, but that's not correct. You want to solve the issue with some better error checking, and I'm going to put up the links in my code. If you want to have a look, attempt it yourself, you're welcome to. Have a look at CodeMonkey's solution. I think really what I've learned is not to rely on using lists if you aren't 100% sure that you've got correct data. The other fix for this probably is to use enumerate, and then I'll enumerate all of column A and put a key or an ID against each entry. So I'll have 1 to 77 for column B, 1 to 77, and column C, 1 to 77, and then just deal with them, put all of the row numbers together. So that's the other way of doing it, and probably the better way. But really, the only way to really fix that problem, the missing the blank space, because everything shunts up 1. So the only way to really solve that is to loop through column B and check if there's text at the same top PX height in column C. So yeah, that's my little talky bit on how to solve the impossible. Well, it's not really impossible, but it's not your standard site to scrape, and yeah, scrape your beautiful soup. Although they'll help you, they won't really they won't get you out of this little hole. So it's a nice site to scrape. Have a look at CodeMonkey's solution, and yeah, I'll be back soon with maybe something else along this line, or maybe even the fix for this. I don't know. In the meantime, I'll leave you with this, and don't forget to subscribe.